I'm going to start over here inside Expression Blend. I'm going to create a new project and I'm going to use a WPF desktop application and I'm going to call that project Gesture. Now, the first thing you'll notice when we open the environment is that we can scale our workspace here to fit the look and feel that we're looking for. Now, if I click on the window here, I can go into the properties and set a few properties for this application. So here we're going to set the width to be 850 and the height to be 640 pixels. And if we want to, we can again scale out and make sure that we can see the whole workspace inside our design. If I come up here, I can then set a gradient background for our application, and I can do things like moving it from black to almost black and set out a path so that we can actually go from the top left corner to the bottom right. Now I'm going to add some existing items to the project here. I'm going to add a couple of elements. So the first one here, this is a map of New Zealand. This is a vector map that's been created inside of Adobe Illustrator and exported out as this XAML format. And you'll notice here, if I look at the code behind, this is the XAML that describes that map of New Zealand. Similarly, over here, this is actually a 3D object that's been exported out from a tool called XAM 3D, and you could export 3D objects from a number of sources like Maya or 3D Studio Max. So if I come back into this New Zealand one, I'm just going to copy this element of New Zealand and come down here and paste that into the layout route. Now I'm going to come back and do the same thing with our Tyrannosaurus Rex. I'm going to copy that and paste that into our window as well. And what I can do is I'll just move the map of New Zealand just over a little bit so that we have it positioned over here behind our dinosaur. Just clipping off the top, but that's okay. Now I'm going to create a couple of animations here, and the first animation I'm going to create, I'm going to call right. And I'm going to set it up so that after 1 second in our timeline here, I'm just going to cheat by plugging in some values because I think it's quicker than actually doing the animation here inside of the tool. But I'm going to just plug in some values here. So we're going to move to minus 5.2. I've just written this before, so let's just test this, minus 17.4. And you'll notice as I do this, it also updates on the screen on the left hand side. And just plugging in these figures. Minus 65. And then let's just scale this so we can actually see the Tyrannosaurus Rex in its 3D environment. So 0.9 and 1.4. And there we go, and there's our Tyrannosaurus Rex ready to go. And if we wanted to, I could actually use these tools here to zoom in and to move this object around rather than using those numbers that we had on the left. So I'll just update that. And if I press play, you'll notice that this animation plays to move the dinosaur to the right. Now, I'm just going to create another timeline here. So this one we're going to call left. And a similar thing, after 1 second, I'm going to just set these values in here again as well. So minus 23.1, minus 1.2, and 5.9. Okay, over here, minus 160, and 160, and minus 58. And just scaling it so that we can see the increased size. And here we go, this is our right animation that we've created. And that's the Tyrannosaurus sitting over to the right. Now, this would be the time. Oh, just one more thing. It's automatically triggered those animations to play when the application loads. So I'll just click the minus trigger here to remove that so that those animations are not triggered to run. Now, this is where a designer and developer can work together. So moving back over into Visual Studio here, you'll notice that this is the development environment that's used to write additional code to control our application. And if we come in here, we'll see the same source code that we had before. And if I click this one here for, you'll notice the window, I also get a view of what this application looks like with the environment inside of it. I'll just save that window view there over in here, and I'll see that update over inside of Visual Studio as well. Okay. Now I just wanted to add a couple of pieces of code. Because it's a designer event, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, but I'm just going to put an event here that will fire when the page is loaded, and I'll just put another event down here, which is an ink canvas. That means that we're going to be able to capture gestures inside of our application. And I'm just going to drop a little bit of code here as well inside of C#. So this one is going to just capture those gestures and perform those operations for us. And I'll just put that code into here. And now if I press F5 from inside of Visual Studio, here's our application. And if I gesture right, it plays the right, and gesture left, it plays the left animation. And that's our application that we've created from scratch with those gesture controls inside of it. And if I come back over to Naz, you'll notice that her environment has been updated as well with the code that I've written, and she'll also run this application in her environment and see the effects of the application running as well. Now, just before we close, how could this be used if this, in a real-world application? Well, here's an example here where the same model has been used in a kiosk-like application to provide additional information about the T-Rex model. And you can imagine this being used inside a museum with some sort of touch interface. Thank you.